Yeah. Parking. Yeah, brought the bags with you. Why? Especially. Perfect. Yeah. Makes sense. I was Jamie, my husband.
ZD Metals project. The ZD Metals project.
And he's so organized, he can fit all of our family stuff in one. He's like, we better get our name on the list. As soon as our kids start getting bigger, yeah, equipment gets bigger, and that kind of stuff. Yeah. But there's like 120 things crazy like that. I'm like, I need to get one of nice, but I was like, yeah, I had a voice for a couple of years, so I was like, that worked. Yep, exactly. Yes, yeah, we have. Yes. Yeah.
Some patches for.
Stuff with the skate team.
Chevy.
And the difference is he's doing like cheaper, change it back into the record, all the things, so it makes sense. There's a few.
You can get into their business plan.
Yeah. And their lines are problem. And they have. Oh, that was always, yeah, yeah.
I think everybody ready.
Really long time. Yeah.
Everybody ready? Ready, Rachel?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let's call the meeting to order. Welcome to our visitors today. Rachel, roll call, please.
Richard Swarthout.
Here.
Crenshaw Donnelly.
Here.
John Cups.
Here.
Anna Mulder.
Here.
Scott Reese.
Here.
Alice Nyson. Here. Everybody. Here.
Great.
Everyone.
Did everybody have a chance to read the minutes? Anybody like to make a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Oh, sorry.
Good. Rachel, any board communications?
No.
Good. Any public comments, not having to do with items on the agenda? It's going to be a quick meeting. Good. Okay. Discussion items, Easter egg hunt.
Yeah, so let's start with the Easter egg
Yeah,
hunt.
where are we?
So we decided it was gonna be April 8th. I'll be out of town, but we had plenty of volunteers to continue the event. A big thank you to the Friendship Center and the Key Club of Harbor Springs High School. They filled so many eggs, probably over 1,000 of them are filled. I came back from M Parks, they were all done. Nancy Rendell also stuffed them for us. There are some more to stuff, but I can do that with some of the staff here who volunteered to help, like on our lunches stuff. So those will all be completed.
Stuff tomorrow if you want some help.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. I also have like some totes if you want to take them home, like you're welcome to do that. The only difference this year compared to last year is last year I didn't put any peanut butter products in the eggs, but because volunteers were doing it, I couldn't guarantee, like I'm not watching them stuff them. So I'm gonna have Chief Knight make an announcement that if someone does have an allergy, they need to watch for that.
Calendar.
And okay. And then,
Did you buy any peanut butter candy though?
yeah,
Or-
there are some peanut butter candies and some of the ones you can't, they say like made in production with the other ones anyway, so it probably wouldn't have made that big of a difference. But that is a difference this year. There still will be though a special set of eggs for younger children that doesn't have gum, hard candy, all that. So that was.
How many eggs this year?
We did 1,200 last year. I'm shooting for over 2,000. Yeah, so it'll last like 5 minutes instead of 3.
You're not gonna be there?
I will not be there.
Who's gonna take the leadership position?
Dana will be there and Scott was there last year, so they pretty
were there
much
last
know how it runs. But the tricky is, I mean, it's not even tricky, is putting the eggs down. Honestly, the event lasts like 3 minutes. It's
Yeah.
pretty quick how fast they go through.
And we
them.
had, do you remember what our age demarcations were?
I'll look, I have some photos
Okay.
and I think I have a sheet that says
I
it.
told Scott I would just drop
Yeah.
a little
Yeah.
map on where the.
Yeah,
and
it
then-
was 1 to 4 and then the 5 to 7 and then it was 8 and above.
Okay, and
It Seemed to
then,
work out okay.
yeah,
With
it
just
did
those
work
three,
out
and
really
it's
well.
only in Upper Zorn Park. I
Mhm.
mean, there's plenty of room.
Yeah,
And I'm trying to remember what we used to run the ribbon or whatever
I
we
think
did.
it was just,
The yellow.
yeah, it was just yellow rubber ribbon, it
Yeah.
wasn't anything
Just laying on the
fancy.
ground, or did we use?
No,
like-
we had stakes, I still
Driveway
have
stakes?
them. Yep,
VW's put the
so
stakes in.
I'll send out an email the week before to all the volunteers to just remind them of everything and go through some things. And then I'll send a specific email to you and Scott, so you can pick up everything and everything's ready for you and laid out.
Okay,
And do we have the signs, the age signs?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
I would say,
and we have the ribbon.
yeah, to have the volunteers there 30 minutes ahead at least to lay
At
the eggs out.
least, yeah,
What time would that be?
Yeah,
It's at
what-
11.
it's 11, so
Okay.
volunteers should be there by no later than 10:30. And then, the event starts promptly at 11, so once that siren goes off, it gets kick off pretty quick.
Did we have the police there or something to?
Yeah, Kyle, comes and does
He
his
knows
siren, he
it.
does a little number, yep.
Yeah.
The Easter Bunny is confirmed, same bunny as last year. Really, so many families took their pictures with him and he did a great job kneeling down. I mean, he didn't scare kids. He was really good with it. It's the same guy as the scarecrow.
And then we shut down the road, like where the farmer's market goes through,
Yeah.
so we'll make sure that DPW and the police have all that.
I have the Easter Bunny costume. I have it. and
Okay.
I'm giving it to him on the 31st when
Okay,
he is going to be making a celebrity appearance.
And show of hands, how many people can be there?
I'm pretty sure.
Okay,
I'm planning on.
so, okay, that's good. So like 5 or 6.
Yeah. And Gail could come as well.
Yeah,
Yep. So that will be plenty.
Does she need a reminder call, or do
I'll send her an email. She'll be on
you
the,
want to send a note just to everybody, maybe like Wednesday that week, just reminding everybody what time to be there and.
yeah, I'm gonna send a reminder to all the volunteers and then one specifically to those who have to actually pick up the supplies.
Okay. Any other questions or?
Perfect.
I think it's good to have 3-minute events.
Yeah.
I
Good.
think it's also important, and I'll leave it on the note with the supplies is, Susan Clark brought up a really good point last year. We did have a little bucket of eggs left over for kids that did show up late, so that we could still hand things out to them. So I recommend we do that
Yeah,
again
that's
this
good.
year. That was a good call on
Or
her
little
part.
kids that didn't get any.
Mhm,
Do we
yeah,
have-
that
do we have a
like
sign
ended
for
up
the
with 2 eggs.
Yeah.
Sign
Have
for
the
the
volunteers. The what?
Do we have a sign up on the?
A banner.
No, we don't have a banner, unfortunately.
Do we want a banner?
Flyer, I'll send it to the schools.
Yep, I do have a flyer for
Okay,
school.
will you also add like on there that it's on the dot,
Yeah,
11 o'clock
11,
start,
yeah.
like be prompt, be early,
Yeah.
something to that effect.
And the last day of school is this Friday, but they come back before the event.
Thursday.
Thursday's.
They don't have school Thursday, all next week, the following Monday, and then that Good Friday.
Yeah.
I think it's a half day. Yeah, we're taking it off, so I don't know. Yeah.
Do you need any help before 10:30?
Well, what do we?
It's all right. I
need?
mean, I'm sure
Yeah,
we'll be
it
there
won't
by
take
10.
long. Yeah, if you wanna. probably-
Depends on the weather. Last year.
We'll
it was
probably be there at
sleety.
10. Just to get the lanes.
A lot of it depends on the weather too.
Yeah.
You know, it'd be beautiful.
This is a week earlier than last year. Last year it was sleeting pretty hard, but it was all local kids. They were all dressed warm enough. Nobody was cold.
They're only out there for 3 minutes.
Yeah, maybe.
Do we have baskets or something, bags for kids that?
We have some leftover ones, but I think we had decided not to do that this year, so I didn't order. I can, I mean, it's Amazon, they come fairly quickly.
Do you think most kids bring their baskets? I don't remember one way or the other.
Can that be something on the flyer?
Yeah, that's what we, I
Basket?
had it on the flyer, because that's what we did last year, and then I took it off, but I can add it back on. It's not like the flyer.
You wanna see how many we have and maybe just make sure we've got.
I think we have like 20
50.
left. I think I ordered like 120 and I think we have around 15 to 20 left.
Make sure on the flyer.
Maybe
it
we
says
should
meet
order
the
more if
police
that many
department.
got used.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
lot got used.
Okay, so Rachel will order bags. Were they bags or baskets?
They're
They
bags,
were big.
like kind of like the reusable grocery bag style, just a little smaller. Any other questions?
Well, just make that make sure it says, meet the Easter Bunny.
Oh,
Because
it does,
last year,
yeah, the
I
flyer,
remember it had that,
yeah, I'll double check, but I'm pretty sure I did make that edit when you emailed me.
because the Facebook post came in my memories recently.
So you'll do all the social media, Rachel.
Yep, and I'll get the flyer to Allison for the schools.
Do we want to put it in restaurants and stores, or that's not really where kids
Yeah, we
look
can.
together?
It all helps.
I think you
Put it
passed
up
them
at the
out
Harvard
last
Spring
year,
Market.
yeah.
Do you want to do
Right
that?
now, the bookstore has a $5 gift certificate for all the school kids, and it expires like, I think the week before
Yeah.
Easter, so a lot of kids are going in there.
Okay.
So that could be a good spot
I go
to
in,
put
you
it.
know, all the stores where kids go. You know,
Perfect.
What else? Do we want a banner?
I'll see what they're. How quick they can get one to us. Might not be enough time for them.
Sure, we
Did
didn't
we
have
talk
one.
about getting those signboards?
Yeah, the
Well,
last ones I have looked into those are more expensive than I thought they would be, to be honest. But yeah, I have looked at ordering those off Amazon. So,
I think a banner would be good. We could use it year to year.
yeah, I'll see what their turnaround time is.
All right, Rachel, the 2 grants.
So the grants, let's scroll down. I sent you all the revision, 1 minute. Designs that Vanessa made off our comments. And again, these aren't final, this is just a final concept design that will be attached to the grant. We had the public hearing for both grants yesterday during council meeting, and I don't believe the skate park project had any comments during the public hearing, and the Kiwanis project had a couple and they were all positive. So we are good to move forward, and they passed both resolutions. So I'll be working on those the rest of this week and next week to get them in before April 1st.
And the Kiwanis one, you won't know until December, right?
Correct, yeah, quite some time before we,
When you anticipate the skate park?
October.
October.
That one's a little quicker than the trust fund grant.
We've got a matching grant too.
Yes,
for
yep,
Kiwanis.
yep. So Kiwanis, we have that $75,000. And we can look for a higher match as time goes. We have plenty of time. You don't have to have solid, like your scope items and everything, and your match doesn't have to be solid until October. So they ask for verification on everything.
Is getting that 75,000 dependent on getting the grant? Or will they still donate the money towards the park for some improvements?
I can't speak to that, yeah. And I think like DNR even does like site visits throughout the summer to a lot of the applications, like moving forward. So there are some things that will happen before December, but we don't officially hear until December.
It's really nice to have all that work done.
Right. Anything else on that?
Good.
Oh, yeah.
Couple of years ago, a couple of guys in town approached me about, putting a curling rink up at Kiwanis Park. I don't know if they'd be interested in contributing to.
Do you remember who, like, was it a group? Was it?
Fraser McKenzie.
Would that be something where guys would be dedicated to that, or they would just have slots where they could reserve it?
They just want
More
to
time.
in town to curl, so. We're
Somewhere
talking about
else has
spending some
curling.
money on it.
Is it Petoskey, Charlotte? One of them guys. Petoskey. Okay.
Probably have a certain time that they can schedule or reserve.
They're interested in doing something up there, so.
Yeah.
Tagging along with them, they're still
Right,
interested in. playing.
definitely.
I'm curious, does that require any special dimensions or special ice or anything like that? No?
I don't know. Yes.
Yes, it does.
Yes. Okay, Doug, what do you know?
It's just short of goal to goal in the standard hockey rink, as far as the length goes, and the ice is pebble versus smooth. They basically just spray.
That may not be,
I don't think it's all right.
it may not work.
Isn't the length of a regular hockey, isn't that about 180 feet?
Yes,
Close to that, yeah.
so the length of ours is 80. That maybe they come up with that.
I was just
Same thing
saying,
with
conversation, yeah.
Just want to practice.
Maybe the shuffleboard will work out better.
Any other comments? Is there anybody on Zoom? Yes. Okay. Great, so on to park visit. Did everybody get a chance to stop by Marina Park in Upper and Lower Zorn? Good, who would like to kick off? Why don't we start with Marina Park? Let's just start down to the end of the table.
I mean, obviously the transformation over the last couple of years has been really nice. I try to, imagine all seasons, right? What can be used and done at that. One thing that came to the forefront of my mind is the amount of bikes that end up there in the summertime and in fall. Kind of seems like there's bikes kind of scattered on the lawn because we only have that. I think it's one rack that's there.
The one by the harbor master.
Yeah.
And one is in front of the pier. And then in my short proposal, I propose to put a bike rack to the east of the current bathrooms.
Yeah, hopefully that'll go through and we'll have a new connection from the harbor master building over to the park. And that seems like that'd be a really great place to add a rack.
Yeah, but besides that, that was my big kind of thought takeaway for improvements or ideas.
Great. Yeah, I think I agree with the bike rack issue. And maybe if you could put a bike rack closer to the shopper dock in that area. So a lot of people are going and there's a lot of times right at the dock there, bikes left.
All right. I think what I'm gonna do is, or you make a list and, maybe we'll sort it out eventually by things that are inexpensive, we could do this summer versus longer range projects.
Yeah.
So,
Probably implement it into our project matrix in some way.
you don't see Allison?
Nothing, Nico.
Okay, so for Marina Park, we are seeing a dramatic increase in bicycle traffic, of which the majority of them are electric bikes. And there's a lot of people who could never ride a bike from Petoskey or Charlevoix that are coming. And a lot of them are groups of ladies, older ladies, and they love the park. And a lot of them do bring their bikes right into the park. And they sit around and they get to have lunch there. So I think the whole bike rack situation we need to look into. The other thing is, just so everybody knows, part of the reason we talked about increasing the size of this board is that when we do the cleanup at Marina Park, and then when we do the planting at Marina Park, it's a lot of work, gardening type of work. So it's good to have more people and get more volunteers to do that. I have talked to Mark Keller about last year, he provided the trimming of the grass.
That could happen anytime if you want to get them.
Yeah, okay, and he said he would do that again, and that was a big help, because we showed up with these pooners like that, and she showed up with the right tool and just did a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even took away this stuff.
Yeah,
right?
do you want to call him? Because he could do it anytime.
Okay,
If we're getting to the point where the grass is starting to blow
I have
around
a
the
feeling I
park,
may see him.
you might see him, but I don't know where. All right, Scott, did you have anything else?
No, just the bike racks, the volunteers for the cleanup and the planting. But one other thing is I'm really impressed with how good the grass looks last year compared to when we started. And
So are we
It
gonna
was very
sign a
impressive.
contract for that again this year? I think that's really important.
Yeah, I think last year I'll have to look at the contract. I know we didn't do the full treatment.
Agree side up.
Yeah, we've kind of broken it up a little bit and I don't think we ever did a fall treatment and it looks
we decided.
nice. So I think again, we'll have them come out, maybe evaluate and see what needs to be done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Probably the same treatment as last year. I feel like they did a really good job.
Yep.
In the spring and it really wasn't needed in the fall.
One other comment, I still have the paint that, was used to paint the chessboard tables, checker tables, as well as the tic-tac-toe and the hopscotch.
Mhm.
And I know who the painters were, and I have the paint. So we probably need to
Yeah.
redo those.
Just looking at those tables up at Kiwanis,
Yeah, that's where they
they
are.
do need a little touch.
Right, right.
And then Rachel said that DPW is restaining all the picnic tables, so that'll be great.
Yeah,
Those won't be at Marina Park though. But yeah.
But another thing that happens there every morning is that the sprinklers go off. And the game box gets flooded every single day. Water gets in it. I don't know if there's a way to line it or something that,
They're a different type of game.
yeah, I don't know, it just,
How about moving it?
Yeah, I think we'll have to move it. I
Yeah.
don't know what I could put in it as a liner. The old one had a liner, but that's not gonna change much. All the other positions for moving it.
yeah,
To get some kind of canvas cover over it.
yeah, that would be the other thing. If there was a cover over it, like a campus cover.
Seems like there's a box that would be watertight though.
And most marina boxes are.
Yeah, I don't mind
this
the
the
cover,
old
but I
one?
foresee that being left next to it and then a big gust of wind coming through and then it ends up somewhere it doesn't belong. But yeah, we'll look at moving it or possibly how we can seal it properly.
And all the umbrellas have been repaired, correct?
Yeah, the umbrellas are prepared and then we have it in the budget to buy a few extras. So over the summer when they do break, we can just switch them out and then DPW isn't rushed to fix them in 24 hours. So that'll be nice. I think we're gonna order 3 extras.
I'd like to suggest that we order new cornhole bags and new checkers.
I have some in my office.
Oh,
I just
good.
haven't put them out. Strategic.
Yeah. And then, did we have anything else? I think, there was that one game that got busted up like the first 2 days or something. What's that?
What's the tic-tac-toe situation? Are those still in good shape? Or do we need more?
No, I bought another set.
Are those still, or have those not been put out
I
yet?
don't know.
Okay,
We don't remember.
okay.
Did you have anything else?
Right, from Marina.
I have a bunch of stuff. Some of this is gonna be longer range. Let's see, the new connection to the Harbor Master Building, I think would be great to have a bike rack right there. And I think people come in, use the bathroom, and then go hang out in the park or whatever. So if we can get that in the budget. Then that paver pad over by the pier and the bike rack need to be replaced. They're just kind of an eyesore. The pavers, have sunk and. So I don't know that we need pavers even. It could just be like pour some concrete if we knew somebody that did that. So I had at one point in time when I was talking with JD Bartlett about, connections between the marina and Marina Park. There's a few things that just jump out at me, like the connections to town, I think are very poor. Like if you're walking down State Street, you cannot get to the park without going through parking lots. And so it's difficult. So there is a way to do it, but it would involve refiguring or reconfiguring the parking lots. And I think that's part of like a longer range capital project.
Yeah, that's like a capital.
So I don't think we can do anything right now, but I don't know. I'd like to look at it and see if we can think of something for this summer. Getting people safely across the street, then down and then into the park.
Yeah, that would be,
It's a great point.
Pardon?
That's a great point. Like even thinking, going from Yummies to the park.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, you're
That
walking,
is, you're walking through
convoluted through parking lots.
And in addition to that, from the new, the bike, access we're gonna have from the spillway. Are we gonna have any signage there pointing people to any specific locations downtown? So they would have a way to find their way to Marina Park, which is where probably a lot of them are gonna try to go.
Yeah, I just don't think we've gotten that far with the plan, but there'll have to be signage, yeah, to
Yeah.
get people downtown.
Like a wayfinding thing.
Yeah,
People
right.
are gonna freak out again.
Yeah.
Let's see, when we originally were working on the Marina Park plan, we had identified that it would be nice to have a wider walk along the docks there. You know, where the pots of flowers are. It's kind of narrow and I don't know if that could be something that we could put, would it be in our capital plan, I guess, at some point?
Be probably a mix of us and the waterfront,
Yeah.
anything that happens down there. Would be between.
So
us
do
and
we
the
pursue it now or if we have enough going on right now?
We have enough going on probably right now. But I'll put it
Let's
on the
put it on the
list.
long-term list.
Yeah.
But if you're looking at those type of things, should put on the list for next year to budget for.
Yes.
Yeah,
We had also identified walks along the Bay Street parking lot, but we can't do that until the parking lot gets reconfigured.
Lucas can elaborate on this further, but I'm fairly certain the pipes under all that parking in Rita Park is very old.
Everything else.
And is going to be a plan eventually to
Part
be
of the whole
torn
project,
apart. So
yeah.
I think we're all kind of on the same page where that connection is very strange. But it's gonna have to be torn apart anyway, eventually, in, I don't know, the near future or it's old.
But they just did Bay Street, what, 3-4 years ago? No, there,
Yeah,
but yeah, that, all that infrastructure on that parking lot, Lucas said still all. what, 50+ years old or something like that.
yeah. So when we do redo that connection, like with the pier and everything, it'd be with that, so we're not tearing it up again, you know, for that. To be done with DPW. So I'll speak to Lucas about that if he has some sort of timeline, because that is something that's been discussed. Is how broken up it is and with the parking there, so.
The next few items are a little more controversial. So I think it's really nice to have that drop off loop at the pier. So it's for the pier, but it's also for older people that are getting dropped off at the park or at the marina. So I think that needs to stay, but does that little quirky parking lot there need to stay? Like that would be a wonderful little plaza area there. I know everybody hates to get rid of parking. I don't know how many spots are there, maybe like 6.
5 or
There's
6.
there's some handicap spots there too.
Yeah. Even just thinking about the ones that, you know, in that little parking lot there that are closest to the water, you know, that would give us a place, you know, for food trucks if we do that again. Just something to think about. What do people think about adding some trees? You know, it always seems like when there's people in the park, they're gravitating toward pulling tables underneath the trees. Or the one tree we have, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, I had that on my list, shade trees closer to the parking lot.
So I could drop a little sketch just with some ideas on where they could go. I think it's maybe nice to kind of keep them over by where the one big tree is and have tables. So you go get your cocktail at the pier or wherever you get it from. And then you can sit right there.
The thing with that, because it's multi-use area, you're gonna want to keep them on the outer edge.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's what's been so nice about the park is it's flexible, you know, anything can happen there. If it's a big concert, every inch is taken up.
So who's gonna
the
bitch
tents-
about line of sight? Everybody complains when you go to do
Well,
something around the
I have an
waterfront.
answer
Put
for
it
that,
anyway.
believe it or not. Like the tree that's there, you know, it won't be day one, but as they grow, you limit up and you see through them.
Oh,
But yeah,
just saying, it's gonna be one of those things.
Do you have any idea what kind of trees?
big shade trees. Yeah. Yeah, so, yeah, we've got a list for things like that. And then the last thing I had is I've been thinking about where we could put shuffleboard. And I don't know, but what that is in a good spot, because you could put all the equipment in the Harbor Master building when it's not being used. Whereas some of the other parks, there's really no place to store it.
Could you make it a permanent concrete shuffleboard? Does it take?
Yeah,
too
John
much
was
space?
talking about, he's done
I'm
some,
doing,
yeah.
we got a big one we're gonna do at Prairie Farm here this spring.
How much square footage is that?
If you do it legally, what is it, like 80 or 90 feet? There's 3 different sizes,
With a little size.
55 or 60, I think.
Pretty big.
sorry.
Yeah.
Well, the only reason I know, I had to look it up so I can figure out what we're gonna do for them. The bigger one is close to 100 feet.
Yeah, I
So,
do know that,
Lot.
like the regulation size.
yeah, well, it's
But if we like,
halfway, it'd be halfway across the park.
Yeah.
yeah, but
Enough.
they're narrow, so
Yeah,
We
4
got-
or 5 feet wide.
we could start with 1 or 2 even. I could see like a shuffleboard league and ladies league, men's league, mixed league. I don't
And
know.
then there's croquet.
Guys,
I think
That's right.
shuffleboard, well, that's another thing. I think shuffleboard would be more popular than
Yeah, yeah.
bocce, for example.
So,
If we could do a smaller.
It'd be
version.
something unique that we would have.
I'll speak to another person I'll have to bring in that is Mike, because that's gonna fall on him as well if it's in his building and his staff have to, you know, deal with the equipment and stuff, so that'll have to be a discussion that's together, it's not something we can, you know.
They might like to pay for it, actually. Or no. Do you guys think it's worth looking into?
Is that the only location you're thinking about? Is Marina
Well, do
Park
you have
for
other
that?
ideas? I'm just trying to
Yeah.
think. It seems like you'd want to lock the stuff up at night.
Is it something you would check out equipment versus just being in a game box then? I'm not as familiar with shuffleboard, how expensive equipment
Yeah,
is.
there's
At least do your research on it and see what all different, I know there are other parks around that have it, and what they do with their equipment. And 'cause I mean, this park is, you know, an open green space too, you could put it in with parking, it's just then the equipment would become, you know, the hiccup, but.
We talked about it at
Digging.
Kiwanis too. It's a
Mhm.
possibility.
Kiwanis would work because you'll have the ice rink.
Yeah.
So you'd be able to,
I
Do
see parks of both sides, where the park is so highly used, I could definitely see people going down there in the morning, doing a shuffleboard league or something like.
Down there.
That wouldn't
down there
surprise
where
me.
Rachel-
Yeah.
Where?
And Marina Park, I think it would
Yeah, I
probably
just
get the
think like
most
I
use.
could go get coffee and then go down there. And it might get more use than if it was, it went at the farther out parks.
I'll give you some details on the side.
Okay.
You know, I go to Marina Park almost every single day during the warm weather, I guess. And I just think it's functioning so well with what it has. There are, early in the morning, there are a lot of very young families with toddlers that are there. You know, a lot of times the parents have a coffee and the kid is running around and they're chasing them. And then, you know, people of all ages. And then at night, all of the entertainment that's in the park. I just think, you know, keeping the open green space is good.
Okay, any comments from the audience? Karen, or no, John, Marina Park.
I just had a couple things about shade trees in the corners. And then I agree with Scott. I think it's functioning as it should with all the improvements you guys have done over the years. And then we really can't do much until the building is renovated and see what exactly it
The
is.
connection.
The connection will be and what we're dealing with. So,
I don't ever really see a lot of hardscape there. I just think it's so much more flexible for the tents and for concerts and stuff. But
right.
we can reevaluate every year. Yeah. Karen?
Well, a couple of things, a lot of people already put down, said what I was thinking, but we had talked about a bike repair tower,
Oh, yeah.
and I think that might be a good place to have it. You know, like what they have in Petoskey, the waterfront park there. You know, the tools are kind of connected to it and people riding all their bikes down. I have no idea what the cost is, but I think that would be really helpful to have something like that. And that would be more short term, and something else for longer term, I thought was some kind of shelter or cover for the performers on the southeast corner of the park. And hot nights would be really helpful to have, preferably some kind of permanent coverage in that corner for the performers, for the bands and so on. So that might be something long-term that would be a little bit pricier. That would give them some shade and some protection, especially if they get some rain for, you know, for their performance. And the other thing I wondered was on the parking lot side, where we have all of the taller grass. Can we even raise that up a little higher so there's even a little bit more of a berm? So you get a little bit more shelter from headlights of cars when they pull in, when it's kind of dusk or dark. It'd just be a matter of maybe just re-excavating maybe. I have no idea what the cost would be, but still keep the grass, but you know, just raise the berm a little bit more.
I doubt
I
we
guess I
do
would say
too
it.
much until we figure out this whole parking lot thing.
Mhm.
That could be done at the same time. But we can be thinking about it.
Yeah.
Just one follow-on thought with cover for the performers. Would we want like a stage? Just like a simple wooden deck or concrete deck or something like
Well, I
that.
thought about even a hard surface. You know, wondering on the, I mean, not even raised necessarily, but just keeps them out of the mud when it
Yes.
is wet. Yeah,
Is that a short term or is that more of a? What maybe what we should do is start
Maybe
looking
consider
for
short term.
images of like things that we think would look good there and that people aren't gonna freak out about because of a vertical thing, you know?
mhm. Right. You don't really want to block any views as a result of it. So
think
it's
it's
more of
something
a,
we could, you know, discuss and get input on this summer, but it wouldn't be implemented until 2024 or 2020. I mean, it'd be a capital improvement project, so
Yeah.
likely. It'd have to fit in on the line.
that's it.
I totally agree with the bike rack extension and expansion, because I think there's gonna be a lot more bike riding this summer than we've ever had before, particularly with the e-bikes. I think it's really important that we maintain the grass area too, because so many people see that. And it should be kept in excellent shape. And I also agree that I think the addition of a shuffleboard, if we can figure out how to do that, would be something that would be of value.
Excellent. And that just made me think of something else Rachel and I have been talking about now that the grasses are more mature. When the beds were planned, we weren't really planning to put the flowers in, but I think everybody loves them. So I don't know if we would hire somebody to do this, or maybe the garden club would do it. Janet's got some cutter thing. It's just to maybe enlarge them a little bit on the park side, so we've got more room for flowers.
Yeah, that's on my list of things to do actually this year, so.
The garden club might want to do it if they have enough volunteers.
I'm the garden captain for the Harbor Master Building, and I can usually rope a few of my amazing team to help in Marina Mart on a beautiful day. So yeah, I just don't think they have the members right now to, I mean, they help when they can, but when they make a promise for something, they want it to be, you know, to the standards, and I just don't think they're the people that commit to that, which is fair. I mean, they got a lot going on.
So I think we did our planting day the same day they did last year, right? The 26th there.
Yeah, and it worked out perfectly, because that way, you know, the Harbor Master Building took 20 minutes, and then we just moved over to Marina Park, so that worked out really well.
And I think our planting mix that we've been using has worked out really pretty well. Everything's hardy. We haven't had die off. So maybe just order the same thing we did last year.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with electric bikes, so I don't know if the chargers are universal or if they're brand specific. But what about having a bike charging station with a universal or a popular brand like 3 of the most popular brand chargers available.
Yeah, Scott's brought that up too, so, I'll bring it up, It's like close to the Harbor Master Building, is that what you're thinking? Yeah.
Typically, you would just do that at home, no, I mean, just a regular electric plug-in. But if we had those plugins, that would be a really good idea.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
see a
what would
lot of
happen if
those.
somebody got over here from Petoskey and they didn't have a charge left?
Right, right.
Phone a friend. Phone a friend.
Yeah, that's true.
Right. Call Uber, oh wait, man, we don't have any.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
You wanna move on to Thorn?
Yes, okay, let's start at the other end. Do you want to start with, should we just do both at the
together,
same
yeah,
time?
please.
Yes. Dick,
I don't think anything should be done with the upper zone. And I like the open space. And, we have the art show there, we have the vehicle show there, car show. I think that should remain an open space. I think our vision should be more at the lower end there. I guess I'm not familiar with where they're gonna put this, equipment, the playground equipment.
We'll go with that.
All right.
Yeah.
That's it.
Karen?
I'd say, I don't know how much is actually in storage, but it looks like we might need some more picnic tables and benches, especially on the north side of the park, which is a little higher. Because it is a kind of a nice overlook there, because it is so open. And then on the lower left, southeast corner of the park is fairly flat. And that might be a place to encourage some games as well, because we do have a lot of space there. Kids could kick around soccer balls down there. So maybe that would be something worth considering, as not putting any lines on the grass or anything, but at least encouraging that kind of play in the southeast corner of the park. We don't have any grills up there either, do we? Can we add any grills along the perimeter to encourage more picnicking up there?
I go back and forth with grills. I love grills. I'm not against people grilling in parks, but when we don't have the staff to empty them. And my fear would be that an individual would empty it on themselves while the coals were hot, and then they would dump them wherever they see fit within the park. So I'm not opposed to it. We would just have the maintenance. We would have to have the maintenance or park staff to be able to clean them out ourselves and not have a citizen who's trying to do well, in their mind, and then have the coals.
It could be
packed
gas too, I guess.
Yeah, so that's something that has to be thought
I
over.
think 3 or 4 grills at the Harbor Master Building.
I think
Yeah,
those
there
are personal grills, aren't they? Someone's personal grills or those rentable?
There
used to
be city grills there. I
don't
know if there's
still- Yeah.
There were 2 or
I don't know.
Yeah, I
But
think one's
for the general-
permanent.
Okay, because I know that there's that one that sits in Freedom Park, but
Yes.
that must be a community grill. And then there's one at Kiwanis, there's one up there. And then when we're at other parks, there's one other one.
Indian Town.
Yeah,
So if there's a place for it and a safe place
Yeah,
to do it, that
right.
would be a nice add-on. And the other thing I thought of was on the north side of the park is maybe some more shade trees there. Is it pretty open up on that end? That's it. Well, then bike racks, of course, bike racks, both locations, give me bike racks. And on the e-bike comment, I thought was really relevant too, and that is also, some of the older bike racks have a kind of narrow space in between the rods for the tires, and some of the e-bikes actually have a little wider tire. And especially somebody riding a fat tire bike, well, there's no way that's gonna fit in there, so you might think about a rack that might accommodate a little wider tire. The trend is going towards a little wider tire again. That's it.
John?
And how much resort, I'm all for leaving it the way it is.
Yep, me too, and I agree with Dick completely. I think its main function is as open space. Flexible open space. So the nice thing about picnic tables and benches is we can move them around. I don't think any of them should be installed permanently, so if there is an event, we can get them out of the way. I don't know about grills there. Like, do we have to have them at every park? Maybe it's just at Marina Park is good.
I'm not in favor of the grills, a lot more maintenance.
Yeah. Then there's a grill at that,
I don't mind the grills, I still think
Shade
that's a
overlook.
spot like Kiwanis works, because it's open up there. Marina Park would work because of the boating, transients. Kind of thing.
Is there anything that says people can't bring their own grills? There's no prohibition of that, is there?
No, you see people with the little Foreman grills or
Grill
Coleman
or-
grills, stuff like that. It's
Other
easy
thing
to
to
throw
think
on the
about.
tailgate.
too, is Rachel's talked to a couple of the fitness places in town and, that's where they have the classes, I think, is at Upper Zorn, right?
Right, that was in my short.
I met with
proposal.
them.
Yeah.
We're working towards.
No, yeah, I know you've talked.
Yeah. They were very open to it.
Good.
Good.
Okay, same thing for me on Upper Zorn, just, keep it flexible and open and movable tables and bike rack, I think is good. Lower Zorn, I just would love it if we could bring back the hot dog concession. It was so positive, and I don't know if you could I don't know how you put the word out, on Facebook
I'm
or,
confused. Was there a hot dog concession?
yeah.
Oh, okay, sorry.
It was great, you get,
Know
ice
what?
cream and hot
What was
dogs.
his name? Had the, they worked with
Wally.
Wally.
Oh, yeah, that was.
Was it like a
Well,
cart?
and
Was it a cart?
they owned the
Was it-
coffee
It was like
shop
a
Yeah.
food truck. Yeah.
with the, it was a car.
That was private,
It was
right?
a hot dog cart. thing. Yep.
Do you think Loretta would do it?
We don't, that would have to go to council if they don't allow, I'm pretty sure the only place we'll have food vendors is Marina Park in that specific spot and then the food trucks in a specific spot. It's pretty clear on where they could
This
go
is
right
special.
now.
though.
There was a cappuccino cart outside of the pier too.
Right.
So people aren't excited about that?
Well, that was kind of put on by, it was a private deal.
Yeah.
And that was,
Also,
well, that was
a lot to do
before,
with it.
that was before the food truck thing, really.
Yeah,
But we made an exception for that food truck by Outfitters last year, right?
Yeah, that's a mayor thing, council thing.
So.
And I don't think we can talk about it right now because we're all here.
No.
I put it on the list.
totally all here.
All right, perfect. We can talk about this another time. Lower Zorn, I'd like to get a game box there and have like some of the same stuff that we have at Marina Park. I think if we could get your person to paint another checkerboard table or something, those are just really popular. I don't think we need to duplicate everything at every park, but I think at those two parks.
Yeah, all ages played those checkers and chess. And a lot of times it was multiple age, grandpa would play with grandchild, that type of thing.
You want to talk to your artist?
Yeah, and there's a new young artist also that's really talented. In addition, so if we're gonna do it, maybe I can recruit more than one person.
I would say we don't do tic-tac-toe or
Hopscotch.
hopscotch.
But again, there is space in that southeast corner of Upper Zone too. Depending on what kind of space we have left with the playground.
I know that. Do you guys worry though a little bit about kids crossing the street to go play this game here and that game there and
Sure,
and
I think they would probably be with me.
but we could look into like maybe getting a box and getting another set of.
Yeah, lower Zorn, I think that makes sense. And then if we decide we wanna,
How many cornhole
Expand
games
it.
do we have now?
Two.
Just two?
I
We have
think,
4.
I think Nick has the other two somewhere. I'll speak to him.
Yeah, Marina
I'm really
Park,
gonna speak for Nick.
Marina Park during the summer months, I set up 2 cornholes every morning.
2, so 4.
Those are the ones I ordered, I
Yeah,
believe,
they were
with
good.
that city logo, and
Yeah.
then Nick has the 2 sets he built, because he was gonna read. I'll talk to him
So
tomorrow.
I feel the 2 sets got used.
Oh, yeah.
So could we get another set? Is it in the budget?
I'll take a look.
Yeah. Okay, let's see. So one thing that I don't think looks so great is along that sidewalk that curves around the beach. On the upper end of it, it's kind of like I don't know, eroding, and it's just like this big lump.
Can you
So-
think what where the white fence
No, no, this is
Okay.
on like the main curved walk there.
Okay,
We can talk more about it, but it's
Yeah,
just some
yeah.
sort of an eyesore.
okay.
And then also I think the sand is getting low along
Mhm.
the other, the
Yeah.
beach side. So if we could have Lucas bring in some sand to bring that up, otherwise it's gonna erode underneath the sidewalk there. And then did they get the pipes fixed, those exposed pipes at the other end? Those are really causing a lot of like washout and
I'll ask Lucas.
okay. And then there's areas like over by that building where it's just so full of sand from kids walking, you know, to the cars and such. I don't know if we could power rake that and try and overseed it or something, get some grass going again.
You're talking about that grass area between the parking lot.
That you and I were
the-
looking at.
Okay, yeah.
And then I've asked Ben a number of times to look at the 3 big maples there. I don't think they're in good shape.
Okay.
I have.
Okay, so for Upper Zorn Park at the northeast corner, there was issues with the sprinkler head coming off, and there was, heavy water rushing there all the time, and we need to repair the grass there. Put some dirt, put some seed or sod, and, just to make it look better,
Also to Lucas.
in the northeast corner of the upper. And the rest, I like the park the way it is, because the views are so nice. If we could add a picnic table or 2, that would be nice, but I still think less is more.
And on that game box, like I think it'd be great to get a bunch of beach toys too for kids that come down. Elton?
I had a question about the workouts that were held in the park. There was one person doing yoga by the fountain.
Correct.
And then the gal who passed away, I can't remember her name, did her workout. And they were kind of at the same times too. So I was wondering if we should have it in one spot at one time, one workout at a time.
I'm not sure who the woman is who holds the yoga. I know who you're speaking of because I've driven by and I've seen the classes. But that's not in partnership with the city. I think she runs that separately. I did reach out to Jamie, and she's interested, like she shares her studio with the yoga instructor. So they'll think of times, but yeah, they should be at different, confusing if they're the same.
Right, yeah.
Same time, so.
And then I wanted to know how the dogs on the beach worked last year.
We didn't have any complaints from staff or from individuals using the park. No one called. Did it make a huge difference? It's so hard to say because the geese go away for like months at a time. I don't know if they teach their young to fly or what the system
I don't
is.
think there is many.
Not an
this year
expert.
either.
But they leave for like a month and then they came back, like we were lucky and they seemed to come back like as the season was ending, which worked out really well. But so it's kind of, I can't really speak to whether it worked. I can say we had no complaints about it or any dog waste that was left.
Are we gonna continue with that?
Yeah,
then?
so we'll
Okay.
probably continue with that and see this year how it works, but it's hard to say if it was the dogs or if the geese just decided to.
That's another part of the big dog you have there scared the heck out of my puppy. She used to come in there and just barked and barked. And I said, this is not a real dog, Mabel. She's like 60 pounds already at 5 months.
Yeah, Mike uses those on the docks, I think, so he's the one that told me to order those, and they work, and I moved him around for a couple days, and then the geese just then I saw a goose just like standing next to it, and I was like, well. Right.
And then for the games, maybe for a different game, they have the large, giant Connect Four games.
That's a good
So
idea.
instead of
Yeah.
doing the same thing, have something a little different. And then I agree with the need for more bike racks. Down by the bathroom.
You're up.
My notes, Upper Zorn, same thing, more picnic tables if possible. Try and encourage use of that more. Lower Zorn, and I don't think this is the place for it. I just want to, has anybody ever heard of Gaga Ball? And then that, I feel like middle school age is becoming popular. That might be more of like a Kiwanis Park type of, but it's fairly inexpensive. It's low to the ground and you can get groups of kids and they have a lot of fun with it. Yeah, and then also you mentioned the game boxes, but like that spike ball doesn't take up a ton of space. And then there's also those like little pop-up soccer nets that you can just throw into the condense, they fold and condense really, really well. That could be another option for that too. And then the other thought I had, and maybe this is saved more for discussion later on, is that barrier to the water where the sidewalk kind of comes around in the front. It's like 2 cables.
The railing, yeah,
Fencing,
that's gotta be
yeah.
a priority. I
So,
think.
and that might be more of a conversation as we keep going down on the agenda, but that's my thought or concern. I've seen lots of parents run after their children right in that direction. And I know it's not super deep, but there's some areas that have rocks
A lot
right
of rocks.
there that it's just not the safest space for younger kiddos, so.
Any thoughts from the audience on Marina Park or Soren?
The geese are really bad in the fall, late at night. I don't know, the geese are really bad in the fall, late at night.
Really?
We do our part, Hazel and I, but,
Yeah.
yeah, that's when they're there.
Okay. This might run a little bit over tonight. So let's move on to the playground.
Real quick, did everyone, it was in your packet. Does anyone want me to, or anyone have questions on the presentation or want me to go over it? Feel they need? I'd be more than happy to. But I kind of, out, so. You guys, or we can just dive into discussion. That seems appropriate. Okay. So what we're asking, tonight is not for a vote or anything like that. We are basically go down the line, and you've gone through the paperwork. If you have questions, feel free to ask. Doug is here. He is a playground consultant from Ventura. So all of your, if you have any questions about the price of the turf or the playground equipment itself, those should be directed at Doug. So we'll just go down the line and give your thoughts, opinions, input. And then it'll go to Lucas and I, the staff to evaluate, and we'll go from there. So.
I just need to hear more about it. I don't really have any suggestions or anything.
Okay, is there anything specific that I can answer like now or just in?
No, I just want to hear the discussion.
Okay.
I guess my question would be, I know there's a picture of the possible equipment. And I was curious about how it could be possibly split into sections. Only because there was a lot of input on where the playground should be placed. And that being a little closer to the beach, et cetera, more in the middle rather than on the far end. So we're looking at the possible structure. It looks like it's one piece unit, and I was curious if it's possible to separate out some of the pieces so that there's a little bit more see-through or more view through it and past it. If we could put it where it was originally decided to put the existing playground equipment.
Well, I think the simple answer is yes. That particular design is a modular design. We can design to the intent, the space, the budget, different variables. I think the intent in that particular case was to have a smaller footprint and consolidate the space and preserve as much green space as possible. It is also beneficial when you're talking about a unitary play surface like the turf to have because that is a costly aspect of that project, that a smaller footprint helps the budget.
Your question though about could some of it be put somewhere else? I think the answer probably would be no. Rachel asked last night if that was a possibility, or
Did you mean move location or we just separate the pieces so that it doesn't look like one big piece?
Yeah, that was really more my question. We had, after a lot of meetings, looked at where we thought we wanted to play the existing playground. And that's been the plan. And so I wondered if this is could potentially be that kind of newer equipment that could be placed where we wanted to originally place the old playground and still allow it to have views through it and so on. Right now, the unit's one piece, as you said, but if we could separate it, that would make a big difference.
I mean, I can't speak to the donor's intent on this location. I think they've expressed their opinion there. I think that there's multiple places in the park it could go. There's pros and cons to all of them. And it's just a matter of weighing that. But yes, the structure could be redeveloped, redesigned, different types of equipment. I think that is open and on the table.
Okay. Are we gonna talk about the placement, the location at tonight, or is that just some other time?
I think right now we should focus on what was given to us. And if you have any, like I said, specific questions solely on the equipment, the turf, that's why Doug's here. He's not really here to speak on the behalf of the advocacy group.
Right.
Rachel, I don't know if I would agree with that. I feel like a big part of this decision.
Well, we can talk about the placement. I'm just saying we
Where-
can't ask with Doug here. I mean, that he's here
Mhm.
only to talk about turf and the equipment. I'm not saying we can't speak about placement.
I think it
but
would be good if
that's just
people had
that.
comments about location and about the equipment.
But I think.
Well, I think, in
Clear in
fairness
the
to him,
presentation.
we ought to go through and if people
Right,
got questions
yeah.
for him, let's get those out of the way, so he's not sitting here wasting his
Oh,
time.
it's not a waste of time.
I have a question. What's the recommended age groups for this particular piece?
So the structure is a 5 to 12 age appropriate structure. The equipment that's on the lower end of that, or I would say the smaller height, less height, has simpler, easier climbing, sliding for young kids. So technically in our industry, there's no regulation for a structure that's age 2 to 12. So you have a separate preschool age and a school age group. So the intent really has a easier thing so that it could be flexible for a 3-year-old, 5-year-old to take that climber, go down an easier slide. And then it's a little more difficult or challenging for the upper end for, your 5 to 12-year-olds. The seesaw is a 2 to 12 age appropriate, and the spinner could be set at either a 12-inch height or a 16-inch height, depending on which age group you want to target. And again, I think this was a general example, and some of the equipment could be modified with some conversation between the two groups.
I have a question. I know that last night the discussion of the donor was being contingent upon the coordinates, but my other question is it possible to add other pieces to this? And the one thing that I'm asking about is a swing of some sort. That was one thing that was in the last equipment that I don't see represented here. And I'm just thinking with a family with multiple ages, it's really convenient to stick a little one in the swing and push while the other kiddo versus trying to chase around a kid who can't access that
Right.
equipment, if that was anything that was discussed.
I can say we did have some discussion into the movement of a swing and how that reacts. And it is kind of that up and forward motion. So given the space and what that group was trying to do was condense the space and maximize green space. I was asked to put in, I guess more of the seesaw kind of look to give you that movement, but not take up, because a swing takes up a ton of footprint.
Yeah.
For the measurement from the beam to the surface, if it's an 8-foot swing, you need 2 times this way and 2 times this way, so that's 32 feet. That takes up a ton of your available space, and so I think in what I was asked to do was come up with something smaller. What is eventually done is I guess up to the two groups to come to a consensus.
I guess that's a
Another question
question.
I had was that particular location that apparently that group had selected was kind of on a big slope. There is a rise there. Does that mean that if it would be located there, there would be a lot of excavation required?
Actually,
Sidewalks and so on?
So the location they chose did, take up the area that the sidewalk is in currently. The positioning was placed so that it was closer to that jog in the sidewalk. Knowing that it does start to taper down. The excavation would be less for this than it would be for the depth needed for wood chips, because you don't need as much, of surfacing depth for this particular surface.
So I have a few thoughts.
Sure.
So I've studied the proposal when it came out at around 3 o'clock on Friday. I visited the park at least a half a dozen times since it came out. I was there today 3 times. And my thoughts are that we need to see an actual proposed dimensions and an exact location. And we need information about the equipment, as you said, including the age range, plus what is the height of this equipment and what is the width of this equipment? So
The footprint of the actual surfaced area is 43 by 37. The tallest feature is 64 inches tall. We measured the deck height.
to the deck, but then
That's
above the
another
deck,
39 inches to the top of the panel. That
so
would be
100 inches roughly,
roughly. Yeah, so that's,
okay?
And Doug's did send all that to Lucas and I today.
Yeah, okay.
to review. We just haven't sat down and like through it all.
And then my next thing that I have in my notes is what needs to be done to protect children from falling through the open fence. As Sarah mentioned, that has a 5-foot drop off into water and big rocks. Something has to be done there. And then how does the location impact the boathouse entrance and the fire exit?
I can't speak for the boathouse.
Okay, I know, and you know, what does the boathouse think about this proposal that's quite close to their location? And then the other thing, if you go there, someone just bought a home for more than $1 million across the street, whose upstairs balcony view for water looks right over where this proposed location is. So maybe we should at least contact them and see what their thoughts are. The other thing, let's see, is there concern for it being close to the location of a parking lot, the large electrical units that are there? They look like great for hide and seek. And then there are the boat fuel tanks that are, the fuel truck comes there quite often during the summer to refuel the tanks that are there. These are just concerns. And then how would the root system of the trees be impacted? Those trees, it's so old and the roots are so big and above the ground and all over.
And Scott and I took a tape measure, and do you feel that little site plan is to scale? Because when we measured out, you know, we just were thinking 40 by 40 at the time. It's a lot bigger than what's on there. So is this more diagrammatic or is this meant to
I
be?
think it's pretty close to scale. I mean,
We took a tape measure today and did, 40 by 40. What you just said a minute ago was 42 by 37. So, not too different. And it's dramatically different than what's in that drawing.
So Rachel and I have discussed, maybe for visualization, you can't get a stake in the ground right now, but Lucas says he's got some cones that you couldn't do caution tape, just so like we did with the first playground, just so people can really get a feel of what it's going to be like there. And it's kind of horrifying, just like the other one was. Yep.
Okay, I just have a couple more.
Sorry, Scott, real quick. It goes off one of your questions. How deep does it have to go for the turf to be installed?
6 inches.
6 inches.
I have 3 to 4 inches of compacted stone, then the padding, then the turf is the finished grade.
And is that over the sewer pipe?
I believe there is there's a vertical line so in the drawing that's on the left on your screen, there's a little dot where the arrow is pointing towards. Yep, right there, that's the manhole cover. That line comes back to near the crosswalk. And I believe from your city map, there may be one that goes from that manhole that cuts back towards that parking lot that you mentioned, Scott.
And one that goes from
On a diagonal
The
to the
parking
west,
lot,
or
yeah.
I guess that's east.
like more up towards the playground. So when we measured it out, it looked like that manhole was in the footprint.
Yeah, I think, you
So
know,
and
everybody
part
should
of-
go and look.
Part of measuring it out too is there's like, I don't know if it's a 30-inch diameter maple there that I would fight to preserve. So we can't have it right up against the maple and cutting into those roots. So when you pull it down, then it's even closer towards the water. Anyways, I think it would be useful for you to
Yeah, so I have
Go lay
detailed
it out.
measurements of, the sidewalk, the manhole, lots of different corners in the park. And we physically went off those measurements for replacement of, or fitting this in, avoiding the one, the manhole and pushing it over. At the request of.
I'm just telling you what we saw.
Right.
Yeah.
This was the request of the group and that they asked.
And some of you mentioned the parking lot being right there. I was curious if there was gonna have to be any kind of fence. So children wouldn't run into the parking lot, because it's pretty wide open right there, kind of between the hedges.
Is
If
that
it
a
were
public
actually a
parking
go
lot?
here,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
the parking lot for the boathouse.
So it could be,
The parking- the public
you
parking.
could make the case of access to the playground from the parking lot as a, method of getting to it. For families.
And thinking of children who might be there on their own, unfortunately dashing out to the
Sure.
parking lot. That's part of the reason we were interested in trying to make it a little bit more central in the park, so that parents could kind of watch both.
Did you have some more, Scott?
Yeah, I just have another comment is, yeah, and this is, do the residents and taxpayers want a playscape of this size in a waterfront green space? And, you know, I certainly have had many people tell me that they want to keep green space, especially green space that's waterfront. And I think leaving open green space is the best solution.
So you say no playground or a smaller one?
I think leaving the open green space is best.
Well, I don't know. Are you done?
Yep.
Okay. I would just go back to why we're discussing playgrounds, you know, the whole thing came up because there really isn't anything for kids downtown. Lots for adults, there's shopping, there's bars, there's restaurants, there's the marina, etc., but not much for kids downtown. And so I thought we were all kind of in sync that we need a playground downtown. Went through all the parks where it possibly could be, and really this is the best park. So then we're after the best location, and I think we all agree that it's got to be based, number one, on safety. So I think there's a number of things about this location that maybe aren't as safe, like the drop off. I think we have to get that addressed no matter what, even if we don't put the playground here, but
Are the donors willing to pay for some kind of barrier of some sort to, if this is the chosen location, to address that safety concern?
I
Just a
think the
question.
best course of action, because we could do this all night, let's be honest.
yeah.
Would be to go one by one, ask whatever questions you have of Doug, ask any questions you have of the donor, which I can write down and relay back however we wanted to go about that. And then how you feel about it in this instant. Again, we're not voting on it tonight. So we're going to talk about it for us to come to a conclusion. So we'll go back to staff. I think right now that's probably the best course to move along in an efficient manner. So who wants to start?
I'll continue. How about that? Also found it kind of offensive that they said we were careless in our investigations on where it should go. We spent hundreds of hours working on alternatives and pros and cons, and I don't think that was very representative. Okay, so let's see, thoughts on location and at that eastern end. I think of it from a designing standpoint and a functionality standpoint. And so in designing parks, you know, it's important to establish activity zones. Functionally, the east end of the park is where more passive things happen, like people bring their lunch or a book down to those benches down by the water. Kind of the only place that's, you know, kind of quiet away from the hustle and bustle of the beach. And to me, the cannon and the flagpole provide like a historic focal point, like that is the focal point of that park. And I think putting a big climbing structure like that in the park competes with the cannon and the memorial space as a focal point. And not only that, I think there's just gonna be kind of a cluttered look. Let's see, I think it's also gonna potentially mess up the flow of the park. You know, they've got the sidewalk running into it and through it, so that doesn't seem workable. So then you've got like this little awkward jog in the sidewalk rather than just a nice straight flow through. I also agree that parking lot adjacency isn't great. It just seems a shame to, you know, say, let's push the kids all the way over to this side of the park, up against a parking lot. I think it's the least safe and the least appealing location for families with kids. It's farthest from the bathrooms and it's farthest from the beach. And then just a couple thoughts, on the western end. I just think it's safer. You know, it's, you've got a kid on the playground, you can send another kid to the bathroom and keep an eye on them. You know, you've got a kid, you're swimming with a kid in the water, you can watch the kid on the playground. I think if we're going to have a playground, we do need to put that as number one. Our number one priority is safety. As for the equipment, I don't think playground equipment is one size fits all. I think there's different equipment for different applications. Like if you had like a nice big open park or at a school or something like that, yes, you'd want this cool destination climber thing. I don't know if this is destination or not, but I think in cases, and this is how I think of this park, is you want the equipment more to blend in. You don't want it to be like a focal point. And standalone pieces, whether they were new, which would be wonderful if they would be willing to donate that, or whether we repainted ours and put them back in. I just think they work better with kind of a lighter, quieter presence in the park, not like there's a big colorful thing. Yeah, and Rachel was planning to sand the equipment and paint it like kind of a dark green, so I think you really wouldn't see it much. Where we had wanted to put it, it was tucked into a corner in kind of a little grove of trees. So I think it would, you know, over time, especially as the trees got bigger, kind of disappear. I also have some concerns that I talked to Doug about yesterday about the synthetic turf, the surfacing. You know, we've heard a lot of comments from the group that's proposing this about they want to keep the natural character of the park. Well, there's nothing natural about bright green plastic grass. Synthetic turf, I did a bunch of research, does have a big carbon footprint. It takes a lot to manufacture and a lot to transport. It ends up in landfills. Scott made a good point that, you know, how many months of the year do we have brown grass? So then you've got brown grass and then you have a bright green square in the park. I'm not sure that looks so great. And then I think we're just beginning to learn about microplastics in the environment. And Rachel and I had that piece in our office today, and we were doing this, you know, like, and this was like 2 minutes, and there's little pieces of it all over. So that ends up in our soils, potentially in Lake Michigan, and then it's been shown to be harmful for humans. Yes, wood chips are, yeah.
I did provide Rachel a document on the zero PFAS for the turf today.
Yeah, I don't think that's the only plastic that's of concern though. I just think it looked kind of weird too, if we're trying to keep the park natural, to have plastic grass. Okay, and I think that's all I had for right now. So I guess I would go with like smaller pieces that are, you know, in the same area that you could see through, a nice quiet color. So it has a quiet presence in the park rather than big thing. And then I think we really have to prioritize safety, and I don't feel this is the safest spot. Next. There.
All right. I have no expertise in
park creation. I have no expertise in how to pay attention to spaces. I'm no landscape architect. I have not studied Parks and Recreation. I'm just a mom. So with that being said, the biggest concern that I have when I look at this location is that waterway. And I also am trying to visualize this not just during July and August. And I know that that's when we have a lot more people in town and a lot of more people using this. As a family member who will be using it multiple seasons of the year, I still go back to that water drop right there. That is the biggest concern for me. I don't know if this was part of the plan or thoughts, but concerns about like, are there going to be benches that are going to be part of this scape in order to have places for people to sit? You know, if that's been brought up or thought, picnic tables, that kind of thing. If we're gonna, because right now the picnic tables are concentrated on the other side of the park, is there going to be concern about bringing them over on that other side there? The other question I had, I know that this is bright and colorful. Are there other options for colors? So if that's to address that piece and concern. I mean, this is more exciting equipment, I think, than what was there before, but it would be nice to have a swing or something for a littler, somebody who is 2 years old or younger, to have something that's connected with that. And the other parts I've mentioned before as well. During the fall, I'm not as concerned about my kids going from that to the bathroom because there's nobody else there and I can see them run to the bathrooms if they're open. During the summer in July and August, if I'm going to go down to that park, we will either be on the park or we will be in the water, because I would not feel comfortable with my children. Oh, you guys go play over there while I have another kid in the water. I will be one spot or the other. And I think like that's just, I don't know how other parents feel. And ages are different, but those were my initial thoughts when I listened to the presentation last night. You know, the presentation last night also called like this to be more of a destination, something big, something grand. And this is exciting. You know, it's more exciting, I think, equipment than what was there before. I wouldn't necessarily say like this would be the destination playground in Harbor Springs based upon this though.
Destination playground would be like the Shea,
Something.
that's a destination.
Yes,
playground.
right.
Yeah.
Or, you know, some of the other parks that you
This
see
would not
across
be-
the state.
yeah.
Like, this is exciting. It's
Destination park, maybe.
Yes, yes. So, those are just my initial thoughts after listening to the presentation. But I appreciate everybody bringing up points because it's things I haven't necessarily thought about.
And I agree with Sarah on the swing set, maybe a 2-person swing, one with the baby seat swing, and then a regular, you know, strap swing. That would get a lot of use. So maybe if we could put that in somewhere, just in a drawing instead of the seesaw, just to see the comparison square footage. I do like that this is a lot smaller than the other proposed one, which was, I believe, 2,800 square feet. And it's kind of tucked away, so you're not losing the shade of that tree, where I know a lot of people from the, I can't think of what it's called, the Friendship Center, yes, like to go and sit there and enjoy the outside in the park. And that would be, those are my thoughts. And then one way or the other, the barrier to the water does need to be replaced.
Yeah.
So if that could be part of this proposal, and then the fact that it's all donated is wonderful.
Here's a question I have is, could you go to the donors and ask them if we could come up with a smaller footprint in the original location? Would they be willing to donate new equipment? And maybe Sarah would be on the advisory committee, you know, if Sarah and Alice and you have kids. I think that'd be awesome if we could get some new pieces, but you know, maybe in a location, like Sarah said, where you could keep an eye on the bathrooms and the beach too.
I get to go?
Yeah, sure.
Oh, Well, until I couldn't add my 2 cents last night, so I was on a plane. It's unfortunate that this group didn't put all this time and effort in last fall. Instead of wasting hundreds of hours of manpower and committee times. It's a nice presentation. It's unfortunate that they're put the city in a position right now with strings attached. We already have one nonprofit group in the city was holding strings as far as the boardwalk goes, because they don't want to pay because I'm doing the work. And I think this has got a lot of that written all over it. I'm not opposed to it, let's say, but I think the strings attached makes this a new point. We already have a plan in place. It's scheduled to go in a month or so. This is a waste of time. On the flip side of that, I think if this organization is willing to drop their strings and actually want to have an intelligent conversation with Rachel and come up with some of these options, then I think it might be a viable point and a win for the overall community. But right now, if they're trying to stronghold us with, we have money, we're only going to do it this way, I think it's bullshit and it's a moot point.
I
And
love
it doesn't
the-
set a
I
good
love
precedent for the city to negotiate. You know, it's like the USA, we don't negotiate with terrorists. Well, this is kind of what we're. I mean, it's kind of what they're doing. I mean, they're saying, you know, we have this money, we're gonna do this or not do it. And right now, they basically said it's their way or no way.
Well, I don't know what you guys thought about the presentation. I thought it was really well done, and I just loved Tim Patton at the very beginning. Talking about the Lyric Theater and what they did there and how they decided, let's do something really cool. So let's let them just do something really cool, but let's keep safety in the
The difference
forefront.
is the Lyric was not public property.
Yeah, that's true.
So they, although there are similarities, that is a very large difference. It was not noted last night.
I think if they can
But
come
Tim
back
did
to
do an
Rachel,
excellent job.
And they
You
want
know-
to do a first class something with a smaller footprint. You know, where the original location is that Rachel picked, and
you know, this is also something that has to get done now, not
not,
Later.
this can't drag out.
so.
Doug, I know we spoke about installation. You said professional installation. The people you usually would work with, it would be later in the summer, fall, is that correct?
So I do have another contractor that has availability in May.
Okay.
Question is getting the equipment produced in time and
Okay,
depending on how long these discussions take.
right.
I mean, technically, we do have long lead times in our industry right now, but we're able to, with something at a small scale,
Mhm.
squeeze things in.
Okay,
As far as the material goes, I did talk to the turf installer too, if that's still on the table or not. They do have availability, so
okay.
they may have some. You know, I don't know what your drop dead deadline is, but I mean, that may, we have to have that discussion.
I think a lot of people have said some really good things, Simon, and it's partly why I asked the question in the beginning about being able to split up the equipment into more modular, so there's more view pass through. I think that, and it was said well last night by City Council, a lot of hours went into this debate about where to put it. I'm very appreciative that somebody is willing to donate this equipment. But I do agree, it does appear to be kind of strong arming the city to take it as long as it goes right here. So if we could work together and work something out so that we can place where we felt best about placing it after lots of hours of input, not just from our group, but also from citizen groups that came in and spoke. I think that would be a win for everybody, but it's already causing more divisiveness. And we don't need that. We just want to be more collaborative. And I'm also curious, and this is probably more a question for any city council members who happen to be here, is those 1,000 signatures how many of them actually live in the city of Harbor Springs or actually spend part of their time here in Harbor Springs. I don't know if there's a way to check that out, but 1,000 signatures is pretty impressive, but that would mean almost more than every voting member, voting resident in Harbor Springs would have signed it. And I think from what I could see, just from the input sessions that we had, there are a lot of locals who do feel strongly that we want to, make the kids, let them be closer to their families, their bathrooms, so the families don't have to split into 2 different groups. But I think this is awesome that somebody's willing to fund some new equipment, as long as we could talk together about where it might actually be placed to the benefit of everybody. Well said.
It's a great discussion. I agree with John that we need to define what our boundaries are gonna be, how are we gonna have problems with these donated people? I'm not convinced of this is the right thing to do. I would like to find out more about what the other alternatives are. And the other factor, in my mind, is safety. We need a lot more discussion, I think, on safety.
Do you want me to address the alternatives?
Yes, if you
Okay,
would, I think
so-
that's important.
So in the playground industry, there are 5 different play surfaces that are considered accessible and that are tested to meet the fall protection that's required for a playground. The first of which is the engineered wood fiber, which was in your original plan. Second is a loose fill rubber. It can be a rubber chunk or a shredded rubber. You can see that product at Lowe's or Home Depot with your Petoskey. Next you would have, and these are all, first 2 are in order of lowest cost to more. The next 3 are all pretty comparable. Turf, which is a unitary surface, meaning full wheelchair accessibility. Board and place rubber, which also falls into that. And then rubber tiles. There's pros and cons to all of those. Wood fiber is the least expensive purchasing, but has the most maintenance over time. You have to continually add to it. It degrades. So over the life of a playground, you may spend a lot more on that surface than you would maybe initial investment in turf or board and place or tile. Loose fill rubber will last a lot longer. It is still a loose surface and requires additional maintenance. So the question you have about swings, they dig those holes, so you put a mat in there instead. The tiles are great if you have basically a grid and you can work within that, a square, rectangle. There's lots of options for colors, designs. So it's a very flexible product. It's nice that it's manufactured in a controlled climate. I say that because important place in our northern climates, it's done in the field. So you're troweling it on the tile like you're doing your cement. And the frost, freeze, thaw cycles create havoc with that over time, cracking and that sort of thing. I did check what we did up at Shea today. We did that in 2017, I believe. So in 6 years, that's still looking really good. So we haven't seen the cracking in that board and place product. But in other applications that I've done in the UP and in northern or Michigan, we've seen that in 5, 6, 7 years. Board and place does require a seal coat every so often to help seal the rubber granules at the top. And it's very weather dependent when you put it in. It's got to be warm enough. You can't have any moisture in the air. It creates a variety of things when you're installing it. Turf is probably the least maintenance of all of them. Again, turf, board and place, and tile are all similar price. And the longevity of it is a lot longer than those other products. So when people ask me about unitary surface in a northern climate, I tend to lean towards that because it's because of that longevity and how it reacts in our snow belts.
I have some experience with this on baseball fields.
Mhm.
It's not maintenance free. Dirt and sand can get in there, it gets wet, gets hard. So I question whether it's really maintenance free at all. I've had to work on a lot of baseball fields that the dirt got on here and it got hard as a rock. So I don't know, you have a different experience.
So in playgrounds, I guess it depends on what you have adjacent to it. In baseball field, you're gonna have the dirt areas around your bases, so you're gonna have that may be more prevalent. A sandbox next to it, yes, you're gonna get sand in it. The beach, if it's close to the beach, maybe yes. The power raking or power brooming can loosen that material and clean it out. You can wet it down and hose it out, but not a power washer, that sort of thing.
Which is all the products considered the most environmentally friendly.
I can answer.
I mean, wood fiber is a natural product, but you're taking down a virgin hardwood tree. Recycled rubber is from all the tires that get replaced off your car. There's been testing on a lot of them as far as the chemicals and things like that, and it's certified by third parties, so the playground industry doesn't feel that it's harmful to the level of anything that's dangerous. This is the
Other questions or comments before we open it for public comment?
One more question, Doug, are all the new playground pieces ADA compliant?
that design,
Yes.
not 100%,
Okay.
no. But so the 64-inch deck with a tall slide and that edge, there's a climber that leads up to it that basically like a step.
But I visual for you all.
Yeah. So it's that middle part, just to the right of the corkscrew. That is a catwalk climber, could easily be changed to a step, which would make it 100% ADA compliant.
Doug, what materials being used for the equipment?
Playground posts are made from aluminum. The slides are a polyethylene, which does have some milk jug recycled components. The lighter blue panels are all recycled plastic panels. And what you see is the kind of that tan color or dune color is a steel. Everything is powder coated and or paint. The post and the tan colored stuff are have a primer and then a powder coat paint.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Questions? Are there any comments from the audience? All right, Rachel,
Up to Zoom.
pardon?
Can I open up for Zoom
Yes.
comment?
Any comments on Zoom?
Jeff, I see your hand. Go ahead.
Yeah. Rachel can do it on clock.
I'll do it on my phone. Jeff, James, would you like to speak?
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you say Jeff James?
Yeah, it says that his hand's raised.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead, Miranda.
I thought you said John. I'm sorry.
No
Okay.
worries.
Hi there. It's Miranda Miller, 651 Second Street. I just had a few things to add here quickly that after listening to last night's meeting and attending every Parks and Rec meeting last year and last fall in 2022, there's been just nothing but constant inconsistencies, constant contradictions back and forth, mainly from Chairperson Dana Mulder, and after the safety recital that we heard tonight, my God, it's a wonder any of us survived Zorn Park growing up. It sounds like a death trap to me. But I kind of would like to direct my plea and appeal to you, Rachel. I've talked with you a half a dozen times, and I have found you to be nothing but short of kind, honest, and patient. And we've always agreed, we will not always agree on everything, but I'm just struggling to understand when a win-win solution is presented here, including a gracious anonymous donor is going to give $100,000, the equipment, the whole thing, to be nothing but insulted tonight, to be called terrorists, strings attached. I think they're trying to provide a win for everybody. Scott Reese says that keep the green space. So I would say that Scott Reese is against the park. It certainly isn't natural what is being planned here. But with this being said, I think that, we had already ascertained before that this equipment is not, the old equipment is not ADA compliant. And the green space, of course, is going to be torn up, taking, most of the areas. Mothers can no longer bring pack and plays or sit in the shade with a new baby and children. The seniors who built this town, they have no place to sit in the park, nowhere. And they're very upset, by the way. You're reducing their socialization and contact with multi-generational community. And in September, Dana referred to the old equipment as visual clutter. And last night made a contradictory statement, a contradiction in terms that the equipment doesn't block any water views, as you can see through the equipment at different angles. So to me, that's a confirmation. It is visual clutter and it does indeed block views. So I guess, Rachel, I'm wondering, would you rather take a $6,000 donation from the Mary Claire Reynolds Foundation, replete with old, outdated equipment, or accept this, where everybody wins? What the Lyric Theater has been brought up, the financial support that was brought up last night. This is the same support that you would be getting for your parks and plans moving forward, would be available and provided to you if you make a good and right decision, a fair decision regarding Zorn Park. Thousands, and I do mean thousands, are waiting to see what you will do. Will you listen to the people? Will you consider over 1,000 people who signed a petition against the destruction of the park? We're constantly asked, who's doing this?
Miranda, I'm sorry, your 3 minutes is up.
Okay, can I
I
just
appreciate it though. Yeah.
Can I just make one more? I have one comment because Dana brought up Tim Patton. I just real quickly have 3 sentences. On October 18th of 2022, Mr. Patton said, and I quote, "Why are you cramming this through in spite of the public opposition is 8-2. And then at minute 47:36, he said, I don't want to be the one to raise this, but if you jam this through, do you know where this is going to go? If you jam this through, it's going to be in the lawyer's hands. It doesn't have to be that way," end quote. Rachel, I would like to think that you do not want this to be pressured. This 100,000 might be circumvented into another proactive use for Harbor Springs.
Thank you, Miranda.
What I said?
Let's go to Maureen Kennedy. Maureen, are you on Zoom? You can speak, please.
I am. Thank you for this opportunity. In all fairness, we have tried to collaborate and tried to collaborate and tried to collaborate. That was the whole message last night. We tried to meet with Mr. Cups. He said he was out of the country on that day, but then he was at the city council that meeting that night. We've tried, and that was the message again that Tim Patton was trying to convey last night. We are open to different equipment. This equipment can be camouflage. It can be the color of grass. It can be the color of trees. We are open to collaboration and making this a fantastic playground, as Tim had alluded to last night. Everything that you guys just said about Marina Park, we need more shade trees. We need to preserve the green space. Don't install shuffleboards. Don't want to block any views with a stage. You want to maintain the grassy areas. So that all is fine for 100 yards down the road, but then you come over here and I guess all those rules are off. So I would just ask for some collaboration with everybody on city council and with Rachel. Thank you.
Thank you, Marie. Let me check Zoom again. Anyone else on Zoom? Okay. All right, well, let's move on. Yeah.
I guess, watching this, everyone's mad about something. You know, and these, personal assaults aren't helping the situation. I think if we work with the advocates of Zorn Park, we can come up with a good compromise that'll make everyone happy. It's a great opportunity for the city to get a nice playground for the kids. And, you know, instead of attacking one another, you know, that doesn't help. That just gets everyone angry. We dig our heels in harder. So let's try and, you know, be positive about this. I mean, it's not a perfect plan. The plan you guys came up with was not a perfect plan either. So let's see if we can come up with something that satisfies everyone in town. Maybe gets us a nice playground and move forward without angering anybody. In my 30-some years here in Harbor Springs, I've learned you have to be friends with everybody because it's too small of a town to have enemies. So let's not make enemies. Let's make friends. Let's try and get something positive done here, or do nothing at all. Thank you.
Well said.
Rachel, I just have a question about next steps. You mentioned you're compiling a list. Is the plan then to go back to, like, I'm just curious if you can explain what the next
So,
steps are.
Lucas and I, DPW obviously is a judge on parks, planning. We'll sit and we'll look at all the options and go through everything that was spoken about at the council meeting, you know, the past year, everything that was spoken at this meeting, on the plans that Doug sent today, because we haven't even sat down and really looked at them thoroughly. We'll look at all other options that maybe we didn't look at the first time and how, you know, we could work together on that location or another location, wherever, and I'll go back to council. So at this point, we're just gathering input. So,
Will come back to us again at some point.
likely no, it'll go to council. Lucas and I will come up with a plan and it'll go to council. Only because parks won't need to vote on anything, so it may come back, I guess I should say. Yeah, I may have misspoke. It may come back, it just won't come back for a vote. It'll go right up to council. Yep, correct.
Good.
Just one more quick question for Doug. Once there is an approved plan, what is the install time frame?
I guess that depends on when the final decision is made. As we're getting close to April. It's getting shorter window to get things produced. And much of our install crews are already booked for the year, for the summer months. I do have one available in May. But I mean, next week that could change as we continue to, we cover 2 states for our company. So they bring them over. So
And
the sooner the better is really the answer to that.
And that's why I can't promise it'll come back to the Parks Board, because it is something that we need to move. I mean, it's gonna have to go back to the Planning Commission potentially, like, there's just a lot to go through, but it has to go back to council and it will likely have, if anything changes, it have to go back to the Planning Commission. So that would be top priority. We want a playground. I mean, and we want it when people can use it this summer, so. Move on to the director's report. Feel comfortable? Okay. So I attended the M Parks conference. It was March 7th through the 9th in Lansing. There were great classes along with networking opportunities. Attending the conference is important. It's the only conference I attend every year. And it's to obtain my credits for the Certified Parks and Recreation Professional Certificate. You need so many every 2 years to renew it. And you have to attend like the 10 classes to get signed. It's very formal. It's a good time. I don't have any park updates because it's March. So, and programming updates, we went over the Easter egg hunt as an agenda item. And then just another thank you to the Friendship Center, the Key Club, and Nancy Rundell for helping stuffing eggs. And if any of you like Allison, if you want to come in and do it with me, that's fine. If you want to take it back home, that's also fine. I know Mike Johnson said he'd come in and help too, so I rope him in to the office.
Good. Is that it then? Any new business from the board? We have enough going on, don't we? Okay, we're adjourned.